What's up, everyone? Welcome to the weekly prompt photography discussion number 1, where me and the community go out there and learn about photography together by taking photos with a weekly mission or a prompt, so to say. So the prompt for this week, to start out with, we gotta keep it simple and easy, was a park bench. Fucking Sparky. Jesus Christ. Right, so we're just gonna go over to the photography channel for the supporter-only server that I'm hosting. And we'll go over the entries for this week. It's not a lot of entries, but I think if we want to start something cool here, we got to try it out. We had discussed like, hey, we should do like a weekly prompt thing, right? And then we came up with the first prompt, which was park bench. We figured that'd be easy enough to start out with, and it would give everyone a reason to go out and photograph some stuff. So here we've got Neck Gaming coming in first, actually. Already showing immediate results with his phone. Immediately proving that you don't need an epic camera to, participate in this. And he's got some lovely photos out here. I'm not gonna lie, I really love the depth of field going on here. With this shot specifically, you might wanna go over the rule of thirds and really try and set the focus points to the bench. If you had just moved slightly to the left, maybe put the camera at a lower angle where you would have seen more of the sky, you would have had a lower horizon and you would see a tiny bit more of the bench, giving it a tiny bit more of a story, if that makes sense. Photography is a lot about storytelling, actually. You'd be surprised. And I'll show you some examples from, my entries, but I don't want to imply that I'm like the ultra lord of photography or anything. I think it's nice to give out some tips as far as I know them, because I've done photography for about 5 years now. This next one, not really a bench, but still interesting to see. You've got the perspective lines here. You've got sort of a direction of this photo, where it's going specifically. I really like how this photo looks, and it definitely gives an idea of the environment that you're shooting this photo with. I think it's very nice. Black and white photography is like such a different beast. Every element depends on contrast, but right here we're actually getting a bit of a photo which implies some sort of feeling or vibe to it. I don't know, I keep going back to the word story a lot, but that really is important to this photo. There's already a story being told here. It's not that obvious what a story in a photograph is, but for this one, if I had to explain this photo, it would probably be something like, this bench has existed here for so many years, it's been used, the grass has grown into the bench almost, implying that there's some sort of negligence to this bench, but then also sort of an acceptance of this bench just being there. And it's just part of the city that it has been placed in. And it shows that this bench has seated many people, actually. But now, as it's not being used, it's in a bit of a lonely place. And I think that's already a story that's being told with this photo. So imagine what you could do if you introduce more elements or even a different sort of frame to the photo. I think it's very nice. Right, next up are my photos. Okay, we have a mission, right? We need to make a photo of a park bench. That's the entire mission. What would I like to convey with such a photo? If you line this up with the grid, you'll see what I mean by introducing points of attention. And that's very important in photography. There's also this little cup behind the bench there, and I had the thought of removing that cup, but keeping that cup there as a bit of litter, it actually tells, guess what, a story. And it's not like it's a dramatic story or anything, but there's still like, you get an idea of what may have happened at this bench, or how many people have enjoyed this bench. And here you see the theme of trying to tell something different with the same sort of object and environment. And you get a different feeling from this. Even though it's a slightly different feeling, you still get a different feeling because it's all the way low down to the ground. It feels like this could perhaps be a child's perspective of what this bench looks like and how big the plants appear to be in front of that bench, even though it's so insignificant to the rest of us. And that's what I really like about this stuff, is you pay attention to things you would never have paid attention to. That's the whole point of the challenge, is what can I convey with just the everyday environment, That's the interesting part. And then this last one, I went to a different bench, and I think this is the most storytelling photo that I've taken for this challenge. If you compare this photo, this one gives a much more open vibe to the whole idea, whereas this photo implies that it's a cold sort of world. It's also giving you a feeling of being at home. And I'm not implying you're homeless. I mean, you could be homeless, but I don't know. It feels like a familiar sight to me to see this like this. And it, for me, conveys the feeling that These benches are for everyone, to serve the people sitting on it looking at a beautiful environment, even though it may not be the most beautiful environment. That's what counts for me, is that familiarity and little feeling you get. Next up we have Rat Bitch. Admittedly not of a bench, but these photos were assumingly taken right as they were going for the bench photo. We got some ducks here, that's nice. I love ducks. Good old ducky ducks. And this one, even though we're not doing a bench thing right now, I think this is a great photo with the framing right there being split up, half ground, half water. And you also have some stuff in the water making it a bit dirty, showing the living environments of these ducks and their ignorance to how the world is. Like, what's their world to them, you know? You don't even know. They're just chilling. Or maybe not. Maybe they're in stress all the time. They're animals. But that's fun. It's fun to think about stuff like this. And I normally wouldn't have been thinking about this stuff if we didn't go out there and take photos of seemingly normal things. And then the bench at last. Great photo. I love the wide photo. It's sort of like a 21:9 sort of thing. And framing is really important here. I think, according to this aspect ratio, you got the rule of thirds just perfect. May not be true though. I'll line it up in post and see how it lines up. But for me, the bench on the right and the tree on the left are a nice little composition with the extra people in the back there filling up the photo for the rest. And this photo gives me a feeling of happiness and just chill vibes, honestly. It may not look like much, but that's the whole point, is to find meaning in what we take and why we take them. Obviously, you're just standing there with a camera in hand, but you're not just taking anything for no reason. There has to be sort of a thought process there, and making these photos gives you insight on why we make these thought processes. That's what I'm trying to invoke here. So, really fun stuff. Next up, we have Teehee with just one photo here. Admittedly, a bit smudgy, but I think it gives me an idea of a different country, a different vibe, with their approach of park benches and where you place them. Even though it's not in a park, it's still a bench. I classify it as a park bench. I think it's a great photo. You could do with some framing, and that's not saying your framing is bad. It's just leaves something to be desired, and I think it's still a great photo, and I'm just happy that you showed up to actually do it, because that's already more than the people who don't show up and don't do it. And that's it. That's it for this week. It's not much yet, but that's because it's the first week. Second week will be reflections. That's going to be the prompt. And I'm very much looking forward to going over this with you guys again. Let me know if you found this interesting at all. And if you'd like to hear me blabber some more about some photos. All right. Bye-bye.